We've had some fun so far. Now we need some more colour. A lot more colour. Let's make it happen. Before I do, I thought I had this in the right place. Turned out, I did not. Just adjust that slightly. Push into the stones. Lovely. A bit deeper into the stones. There we go. Beautiful. That's how I want it to be. Okay. Right. This is my first cup of coffee for the day. So, I did have a decaf this morning, but this is the first caffeinated coffee, so a little bit of a treat, to be fair. A little bit of a treat. Put that back over there. I'm just going to try flick so I can see the comments here. Here we go. If any roll on in. Perfect. Now, some beautiful trees. Where were we? Probably want some of that dioxine purple. Sees that? Dioxine. It's got a name. It's got a name. Though I can't pronounce it, it still has a name. There we go. Happy Easter, by the way. Good point. Good point. I don't know where you're joining from and where in the world, but I think yesterday was Easter in New Zealand, but we'll extend it to both days. If I'm wrong, I might be wrong. I don't know. Could be. There we go. Today is Easter Sunday. Is today Easter Sunday? I think it's Monday here in New Zealand. Just take off these glasses, it's going to make it a little bit harder ironically harder to put paint on the artwork, but easier for me to actually see the tree. So we'll do a little trade, try and understand it. Just down through there, beautiful. Easter Sunday. I don't know if you can hear that, but those little buzzing noises in the background. I was going to use the mouthpiece, the sound enhancer, but actually when I was going to plug it in, I thought, we're actually going to lose a lot of that potency and beauty in the sound. So I thought, no. The beauty of nature, a few cicadas, a few bees, we want to keep that. Otherwise it wouldn't really be real. But it will mean, does mean, I like to speak up just a little bit. Jay's on the update. Hey Jay. Okay. I guess that does make Kiwis the future if we're in tomorrow. That's kind of fair. We are quite forward-thinking people. We invented the We've got an underwater drone that National Geographic uses. We develop all sorts of science things all over the show. We're big on that. Now, I didn't expect it when it first came out, but it turns out the sun is absolutely beating down. So just excuse me for a second. I got sunburnt a little bit yesterday because I was a bit late actually doing this. So it's one of those things that you never know you really should have it on until it's actually too late. I'd like to avoid that. Yes, so because of the way the world's tilted, I think, and the sun's position as the earth rotates, some people in this world sleep while you're awake. Some people are awake while you're sleeping. Unless you're from New York, and then you're in the city that never sleeps. It's just always constantly, non-stop, 24/7 awake. That's also an inherent possibility. Yeah, and the old sun here in New Zealand is, our ozone layer is a bit thinner, or was, and so you will burn in New Zealand far, far easier, which is to be avoided. To be avoided. There we go. Beautiful. That's going to make a huge difference. Stop those waves from coming in. You come from USA but no money. Well, the beauty of today's world is that if you've got no money, guess what? The billionaires and the millionaires probably own a similar phone as you do. Your ability to use your phone to connect with the world is pretty much equal to that of a billionaire. I was listening to a podcast on it and I thought, that's really interesting, because typically we always think of the billionaires having something better. But see, the best smartphone is still just $1,500. It's still the iPhone 15. And you'd say, well, that's still a lot of money. It is. It is, but not completely unreachable. It's not like a giant yacht or something you're never ever, I'm never ever going to get my hands on. I don't want to get my hands on it. I don't want a giant yacht. It sounds like a lot of trouble. But the phone, on the other hand, you can own the same phone as Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos, if they even have a phone. And that's pretty special. So when they watch Reels, and you watch Reels, or they use their phone and you use your phone, they use Gmail, you use Gmail, there is this, how would you call it, a technological balancing that goes on, which I kind of like. I'm glad there's not a $200,000 phone that only the billionaires have. That would, I don't know, it wouldn't be the same. Last time I saw you, you were painting the koi fish. Yes, indeed, I would have been. That was the picture, which is now, I think it's an island. Island or Netherlands? Island. It's an island. How could I forget that? It was a really fun picture. I didn't get time to take a picture of it, a proper scan. You see the moon behind me? You do. The moon is up. Well picked. I hadn't noticed that. But, so I didn't get time to do a proper scan of that picture because it was she was coming to pick it up from the country, so by the time it was finished, she was ready to pick it up. I hadn't got the picture, so we can't do prints of it, which is a little bit of a shame, to be honest, because personally, I kind of liked it. Had this cheeky fluid style to the movements in it, because those kois were all moving through water. So it's always quite fun. Moving but through water. This is not this giant disturbance, just ripples. careful with branches. There's this temptation just to draw big, thick trunks everywhere. When actually you've got to see the trunk as a split set of colours. So you can capture each little individual colour, and the trees will slowly come to life out of the picture. If you do it all at once, you can lose that little bit of charm. Now, there should be, there we go. White. How long have I been painting for? Well, a long time, but I don't think the time you've been painting for should dictate how much your work means to you personally. We don't often see a great dance from a dance floor and say, how long have you been dancing for? Maybe we do, but I've been painting ever since I was about 3, 2. Always had art supplies in my hands, thanks to my parents. But, I wouldn't say that all is what made me the painter I am today. I think what made me the painter I am today is loved ones, peers, family. You say support, it's not so much support as it is people believing in what you believe in. And if you believe that actually paint can have a profound effect on your own life and perhaps reach other people, and you can find yourself friends and loved ones who believe in that too, and that's pretty satisfying. That's pretty satisfying. This is now violet, so this is skimming around a few little pockets here. Again, that sun. When the sun's out the most, the colours are the best, but your vision is somewhat obscured. So, a little bit. There we go. Do I just need to stare into the sun? I think I do, to be honest. I think I do. The flies are speaking loud. Are they very loud, are they? They're actually little bees. They're just enjoying a little bit of honey. Well, pollen around your position. Here we go. Lord sing long. It's kind of funny how the Lord made the bee, and the bee made the honey, and the honey bee looking for a home, and they called it a honeycomb. They roam the world looking everywhere, and love from here, and love from there. Put it all into one sweet part of my baby's heart, oh honeycomb. Be my baby, oh honeycomb, be my own. What a darn good life when you got a wife like her. How is it? It's fantastic. I have paint on me? I do. These pants have paint on them. The shirt should be pretty clean. That's a food stain there, because I'm a little grub. What a darn good wife when you got a life like a honeycomb. Splash that around, still in that violet colour. Beautiful. Might throw some lovely red through that. Crimson, perfect. A crimson into the purple. There we go. That's the colour we're working with now. See that? Beautiful. That's what we need. Mix it in there delicately. Now we need to spot some places for this deeper red to go. Probably down this trunk here. There we go. There we are. These arms kind of wind up into the sun. Beautiful. Little tufts. Can't be afraid of the tufts. There we go. We'll spend as much time around these edges of the painting as we do here in the centre of it. The landscape, it's not just these trees right bang smack here in the middle, it's this entire scene, including these corners, which are lighter colours. We haven't touched them too much yet, but they are of equal importance. So capturing all of that is going to be fairly important. Fairly important. Might need to grab some more green actually. Sort of dabble backwards and forwards. Into the green, out of the green. Kind of fun. You like the vibrant colours? That's fantastic, Christopher. And Cindy, I'm glad you like the colours. I'm going to lighten them up a little bit here. Even to a salmony pink. He's risen, he's here. Happy Easter to you too. Paint the trees and the daffodils with eyes that watch the world and can't forget strangers that we've met, ragged men, ragged clothes, silver thorn, the bloody rose. That we've met. Beautiful. So you can see a little bit of a hillscape heading off there. In this area down here, some flax bushes just below these trees. There we go. Beautiful. When did you develop and stick with your unique style of painting landscapes and portraits? Who's that there? Abby. Abby Smith, great question. I'm sorry if I miss anyone else above it there. So, I don't think we've stuck to it. I think there's a multitude of different ways to paint. And sometimes I use thick texture. Sometimes I use heavy layering. Sometimes I use transparent layers. Sometimes we try something completely new and different. But having hard, fast rules of how you create your paintings can be dangerous. It can limit you, put you in a sandbox, which wasn't your intentions. But once you're in it, it's very hard to escape and feel that creativity instead of that craft that you've now indulged yourself in. So, this is how I like to do landscapes right now. Explosions of colours, noticing smaller shapes, slowly letting the whole work blossom together, but not trying to control it too much and demand it to be this realism picture, but just enjoy the slow troop of the indication that something else might be in there. Cheeky little landscape, some cheeky little trees, some bushes, some shrubs. Most importantly, all of this is just an excuse to find colour. If it wasn't for colour, this picture wouldn't really exist. Colour's the Colour's the fundamental behind it. Colour's what actually brings it into existence. Without colour, you'd ask the question, and relevantly so, why? And maybe you could find an answer for that, but the beauty behind having so many pigments, it's something that a lot of artists haven't had the privilege of exploring in the last, well, they have in the last 100 or so years, but historically, maybe even 200 years ago, before they even discovered ultramarine blue could be synthetically made, they didn't have abundance of colour. We've only recently come into that, and now that we have it, I personally feel a responsibility to endow these works with as many pigments as I can see in them. Because 14th, 16th, 15th, 17th, or the 18th century artists didn't have the opportunity to have so many pigments at their disposal, or if they did, they were incredibly expensive and they couldn't experiment and play. Play's too risky if the pigment costs its weight in gold. But for us, the pigment's cheap, $50, maybe $100. Cheap paint in comparison. And so we get to explore and play with a huge range of pigments. We can afford for this work to fail. And so if we can afford for it to fail, we can truly allow chaos into it. We can capture something unique and different that may not really exist in the ancient artworks. So you can read a book called The Secret Lives of Colour. It talks about how colours come into creation and disappear, rise in popularity and then decrease. And the reason why that book's so beautiful is you do get an appreciation for the scarcity, historic scarcity of different pigments. Whereas we have somewhat got ourselves into a realm, we've started to understand that all colours are always there at our disposal all the time. And certainly with the use of computers, anyone under the age of 30 believes every colour should always be available to the exact nature. Colours have codes that we tee up and put perfectly into a computer and nail every time. So with that power, I like to explore what artists historically never got to. And that's every single colour in this little box here. This $40 DIY box is full of every colour I could possibly want. And if I want more colours, I can go down and buy them. How insane is that? How insane is the ability of actually having every single pigment physically at your disposal? It's not fair. It's outrageous. So that's why the work looks ridiculous like this. That's why it runs off in all these sort of crazy directions. And who was that there? I saw something come in there. David, you're a legend. Appreciate that, mate. But I think I'll always use colour. No matter how used to it I get. I think there's something beautiful, not just from the end result point of view, but actually watching the colours climb over each other, watching them build, watching them dance and play with each other. I don't mix them. They're usually straight from the tube, and so these are all raw pigments. You could harness them and say that that's pastel violet, that's naphthol crimson, that's this, that's that. I love that, this raw nature to it. Kind of like a Van Gogh style, but no limitation on pigments. See, Van Gogh was early in his, not early in his piece, but he was just coming into the contact of colours like Naples yellow. Naples yellow is the yellow you see in the tree right here. And it was so rare, but it had heavy metals in it, and they argue that maybe it poisoned him, and that had an effect on his mental well-being and his physical, most likely. And we're lucky enough now to know that all the colours we're using are safe and fairly stable. That Naples yellow wasn't stable. In fact, those sunflower pictures that Van Gogh's so famous for are now actually fading away, wilting almost poetically. And since they're wilting poetically, it's kind of this beautiful irony, a beautiful sadness to it. It's the unstable yellows that we used. I wouldn't change that. I think that's kind of special. But I think that probably all the colours we're using today, be it some are synthetic, are actually incredibly stable. We know their light fastness, how many years they'll last for, how reliable they are. There's not a person called a colourman, they were called colourmen back in the day, who would come around town and deliver a cluster of colours to you. Silly as that was. Not silly. They had to do it, but we look at it now and think, what a ridiculous thing. Imagine a man coming to town once every few months with a cluster of colours and you had to buy the colours that you needed. Imagine that. And now, at our disposals, every single one of them. Speaking of, this is a Mars black sort of a colour. You get a deep, deep, deep purple and you combine it into a little bit of green, you do get this muddy Mars black sort of tone. And I love it. A muddy kind of Mars black. Not typically. It does need a little bit of white through it sometimes. Or it looks like it's got a little bit of white through it. But it does have that effect. And this is going to start dancing around with these black tones that I've already added. Not because I'm trying to lighten the painting up a bit, but in this light, ironically, because we've been doing this at 3 different stages of the day, this light, it's not deep black, it's more of a Mars black. Mars black's like murky, greenish. Greenish? There we go, just in there. Like a heading towards black, but not brown. It's hard to say. I do like Mars black though. It kind of sneaks in there. There we go. Beautiful. This whole thing's actually got way more volume than I've currently given to it. So we'll expand on that. Beautiful little pine cones at the top here. Lovely. Bounce that around in there. Nice. Just like that. Grab a bit of white. Ooh. Tell a lie now, team. There is now some paint on my shirt. I thought I was doing well, and now I've got paint on the shirt, so it is what it is. This is the best place I could possibly be today to be painting in. I consider myself incredibly lucky. I know other countries have beautiful sides, but this particular country, New Zealand, has the most amazing places. Look how calm it is today. I feel like we deserve this as well because we've had so many days of such intense wind and heat. Now we've just got the heat and no wind, which brings intense temperatures with it, but all of a sudden, we can relax. You can hear the words I'm saying, hopefully, and nothing's going to blow over the easel today. Amazing reassurance, because historically, this easel's been going flying day after day after day. There we go. Let me stand back and have a little look-see at this thing. Yeah, we're in a good place. It is very much so. An absolute explosion of colours. It's really fun. But it's in a good place. These greens cannot seem to tame these crazy wily pinks. And these little purples and things. Gives the tree a character that it doesn't really have before that, which I think is pretty special. I mean, they're big trees, they're gorgeous, but to see them like this, do you want to see them briefly? I'll spin you around to face them and then I'll bring you back. So, there they are there. Those trees just up there, that's what we're painting. And this is the way we've captured them so far. That's where we're at. It's been fun. There we go. You can see that there's, in those trees right now with the contrast on them, they're heavily focused on form, but you can't see a whole lot of colour. Yet you look at this one, and you see a whole lot of colour with less focus on form. So the painting actually adds something quite unique to it that it didn't have prior, which I think is kind of fun. It'll take about another, I mean, how long to finish? That's a great question. Do I even know? I don't think I even know that. How long to finish? I think we're just going to go and go and go and go. And then we'll see at what stage we suddenly say, okay, that's enough. Although between these coats, we will stand back. Just have a little bit of a look at it. Make sure that, do we like the direction it's heading in? Is this capturing the colours of all those different times of day? Or are we starting to head a little bit in the wrong direction? I don't really know yet. So, all we can do, cheesily, but all we can do, just trust the chaos of the journey. Yeah, these little wild colours down. We may lose the work yet. It all may be just lost. You can absolutely use crayon as an alternative. I can't stand crayons personally, but if you like them, ignore me completely. You do you. There we go. Lovely. Quite a good little colour this. Just making those greens relax back a little bit. I watched that new movie last night. Who's seen that new movie by Adam Sandler? Spaceman. If it's just me who's seen it, there's a giant spider, and I was hoping that the spider was going to be real rather than just a hallucination. And they say, oh, it's up to you to decide whether it's real or not. Sorry, spoilers ahead, how rude of me. But I hate that answer. It's like a Shutter Island answer, but less intriguing. Please just tell me, or give me some clues to each side instead of just leaving it open-ended. There we go. Alright. Keep that green coming. All through this tree. So you can start to see those other colours starting to fall back a little bit as these intensive greens start taking their front and centre part. And we'll bring them out and tone them back, and bring them out and tone them back. At the moment, this is a bring out phase. So we're going to bring them to the top. But they'll fall back again. Of course they will. Can't stay in the front. There's too many other colours that we need to capture for them to maintain that territory right at the front of the picture. Here we go. Beautiful. Where else do we see that green? Just through here. Nice. Bouncing over the top here. Saturate. This is sap green. So it's more like the colour of grass that you'd see, which is going to add an intense vibrancy to that tree, especially up around its top branches there. I'm looking forward to shortly leaping across into a bunch of blues. Blues are waiting for me, team. We're painting a cluster of trees. The trees' trunks are here. They're massive. They're pine trees. There's a massive amount of nettles and pine cones at the top, branches splaying out in all directions, then coming down into sort of bushes, shrubs, and then distance off where a little hill here exists, and the horizon line is about here. That's what we're after. That is what we are after. Here we go. I'll probably just dice into a bit more purple here. There we go. And let's check this. Yeah, now we're talking to it. Now we're talking. A bit more. More of a grey tone. Is it too grey? No, it's perfect. I'm going to start sweating soon. I can feel it. That heat from the sun is just absolutely potent. You don't realise how much good the wind's doing until it's gone. How it blowing on you is actually keeping you cool. And then once it's out of here, you're just absolutely baking in the sun. But that's okay. That is okay. Now, let's got a few little branches through here. Beautiful. Beautiful. Just these boring, brownish purple hues coming into this tree. But that's okay, because we're not done with these colours yet. I feel like blue is probably the most underrepresented colour inside this work. And that'll change. Of course that'll change. But right now, we're going to play around with these purples. There we go. Let's get a bit more down in here. Oh, that is exactly the colour I was after. Murky kind of greenish. Dice with a little bit of purple. Just capturing the way the light's not directly on it, but it's around it. There we are, dicing over the top here, lovely. And up through here. Exactly what I need. Down in here. Beautiful. Stunning. And down in here. Then there's a mountain in the distance between these two. We haven't captured it yet, but let's just paint that in. There we are. And it dices down here just a little bit. And then there's a little island that comes up there. Just touches its way in gently. Another island there. This isn't the sea. You can't see the sea, but it's deep in the distance. Right on the horizon line. Just a mountain piercing it. That's all that is. Whew. I think aside from a glass of water, coffee I think I'm going to need a glass of water. Man, the heat likes to pound down from the sky. I wonder what you do with this degree of heat. Stand in this all day and bake. Hard to escape this degree of intensity. But that's part of the chaos you get into when you come outside. You're welcome in it. Sometimes it's just going to be hot. Hot. There we go. Sometimes it's going to be less hot. Sometimes it's freezing cold. The other day I was out here. It was so cold I needed to go inside. I was like, right guys, that's enough from me. My hands are freezing. So that happened. Well, that's good to hear, Cindy. Alright, next colour. Probably splice in a bit of blue now. I'm feeling in a blue mood. Although the picture does feel naked without its ultramarine blue. We're managing, but I definitely miss it. That's happening, 100%. All right. G'day, Steve. Welcome on in. And Steve, I've been talking with Donna. We've got a plan. And the plan is not to spill my coffee. We've got a lovely plan in place. So that's exciting. So probably later today, Steve, I'll pick up that package you've sent, which will be pretty fun. Here we go. Okay, blue. Off the paintbrush. Got coffee everywhere, so we need to get that out of here. Otherwise it's going to be a slip and slide with the brush. Cheers, Steve. Here we go. You know, she's visiting Rotorua. She's going to love it down there. Most amazing place. One of the most incredible places you can go to on Earth. The geothermal activity in Rotorua. The only place that has more geothermal activity is Yellowstone in America. Huge amount happening there. But the difference is, although Yellowstone has more, it's spread out, and in Rotorua, it's incredibly intensified to one small area, one small city. And it's just everywhere. So frequent, in fact, that you get to the point where you're completely numbed to it. You're like, oh yeah, more steam just coming out of the ground. There's a house with its fence by the side of the road and steam's literally burrowing up in the backyard, which is just incredible. But you drive past that house so many times, the novelty, as with all things, eventually wears off. And you're back to square one. Here we go. Beautiful. Alright, let's get a bit more of that blue. This is proper saturated blue. And I'm going to start streaming it in here. It's going to start making this tree look popping. Oh yes. It's going to add into all those little deep grey areas where so far, I wouldn't say I've neglected them, but have I gone in as deep as I should have? Not yet. Not yet. I think I'm still waiting on that degree of love. Here we go. Mixing a bit more of that transparency gel. This allows all the colours to sort of work over top of one another. That's what we're after. May life never lose its novelty. Well, you know what? It won't if you don't let it. And if you do let it, you can get it back. I think a lot of us go through points in our life where we feel like the novelty is gone. And then usually it's got less to do with the abundance that life has and more to do with our own view on life. I saw a quote by Rodney, guy I follow, a comedian on social media, and he said today, he's like, if life was a video game, you wouldn't get caught up on the mundane nature of the storyline. You would get completely caught up in how good the graphics were, and you just go everywhere to explore that. And that's kind of true. If you like video games, life's got some good definition. And we do appreciate that. It's not like that's a new revelation, like sunsets. Even in a Countdown supermarket car park, it's a Countdown's a supermarket here in New Zealand. We see a sunset and we may not pause, but for a brief moment we do just look up, see that sunset and appreciate it. There's beauty in that. Hello. I am wearing sunscreen, yes. Thanks for pointing that out though, because by golly gosh, it is a toasty, toasty day. I'm gonna grab grab some of those little blue moments in amongst these trees. You see how we're not doing the background first and then the foreground, and dicing backwards and forwards? Because we're not seeing it as a collection of subject matter elements to paint and craft into existence. We're seeing it as a collection of shapes and colours that we're going to capture one after the next. So if we paint the background first, we definitely acknowledge in our own eyes that we're not just seeing shapes and colours, that we're seeing a tree, and our end goal is to craft that tree. And if we do that, we never really get the tree. We get a crude rendition of what we think we should see when we look at a tree. But if we allow ourselves to just escape from that and capture the foreground and the background, all the little shapes simultaneously, we may never get there, but we increase our chances of actually finding something quite special and unique, a new way of seeing the tree. That's the goal here. And yes, I am well hydrated, but I might just go inside briefly shortly after these blues. Let me grab a bigger water bottle. That's my plan. That's my plan. In fact, I'll do it before I get dehydrated. That's what they say, eh? Once you're thirsty, it's too late. You've got to make sure you actually get water before you're dehydrated. I forget, but anyway, give me 20 seconds. I'll be back. Cool. Cool. Alright. Not gone forever. Alright. Here we go. Voila. Water. Fresh plate. We won't need it just yet, but a fresh plate because it starts to dry and cake onto the plate, and once that happens, you can get these little tufts and moments getting caught in your paint, which sort of stop you from being able to really capture a lot of that expression within the trees. Well, whatever you're painting. There we go. Beautiful. You also got to remember too that we're dealing with a tree, and the nature of that tree is sort of a bit of an enigma. Unless you saw the real tree, you wouldn't know the shape of it. So we've got to capture the idea of the tree much more than the actual bona fide shape of the tree, because this particular individual tree and its shape's less important than this individual tree's identity. Think about the face of an elephant. You know there should be a trunk and roughly how long the trunk should be. You know there's a eyeball, that'll be symmetrical to the other eyeball, and then an elephant might have big ears, 4 feet, and it'll always be a certain shape. If it's a baby, smaller. If it's an adult, bigger. But think about a tree. We're willing to accept all sorts of different shapes, far more variation than we'd accept for an elephant. So as we add these strokes, they can be accepted as a wee bit more wild. Because of that, it doesn't change the way you paint, but it does change how much fear you should have towards what you create. You can relax. You can make more mistakes. You can learn from those mistakes and grow. There we are. Of course, with nature, even the most bizarre, wild strokes aren't mistakes. They're intrinsically part of that nature. It's part of that fun. So I'm not too worried here. There we go. hopefully though, we can capture the beauty of this one little bit of nature. That's the plan anyway. We'll see how we go. Before that sun cooks me, of course. And then over here. Over here. Yeah, these little spots in the tree. The temptation's to work around the outside of the tree, but there's definitely a bunch of little spots within the tree that deserve their own little bit of time. Whew. Man, that light's right in my eyes. But it's worth it for the colour. It's worth it for the colour. Alright. More up here. A little bit more down here. There we go. Lovely. Put more over here. There we go. Yeah, that's the intensity of colour that I'm after. Getting very dotty as we continue on, which is part of the fun. We'll leave off these colours shortly and go into a slightly different pigment, but for now, let them have a huge impact. Blues, cascading over blues. There we go. Honeybees out. Looking for some honey. Let's grab a little bit of this out of here. Give me that sort of deep violet colour. That's the blend. How do you know what colours to use? It's a mixture. It's one part instinctual and one part theoretical. So as you're painting, just stand back and have a little look here. As you're painting, you can start to think about what colours would go well together, but also you're thinking about what colours you instinctively feel attached to. I know that sounds cheesy, but there's a really couple of good books out there. My favourite of which, I go on and on about it, I wax on about this book, Secret Lives of Colour. It's quite meditative as a book. And they yarn non-stop about, she talks about different colours, different connections to different colours and the history of each one of those colours. It's beautiful to read. Books like that help you understand colours, understand how you care about them, and understand like what they should mean to you, or could mean to you. And then from there, you choose your favourites. You take power and find the ones that you like the most. So you'll find that my work usually, this is an unusual piece because it's got a lot of green in it, usually attracts itself more to turquoises, magentas, and Naples yellows. Naples yellow, rather than getting too caught up on the likes of red, actually. Red's an unusual one. You don't normally see red in my works. you'll see red's usually substituted for something like brilliant magenta. And that's just a preference of mine. Part of my identity. But you too might love to use red. Might love to use green. Festive, Christmassy works with red and green, flowing in all directions. Don't let me tell you not to use them. It's just not usually my style. So, everyone's got their own. And ultramarine blue, oh my god. Deal me up some ultramarine blue. The saturation to that colour, the power and the presence of it. I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. But again, you don't need to be as infatuated with aquamarine, ultramarine blue as I am. I always say aquamarine because I'm an idiot. You don't need to be infatuated with ultramarine blue like me. You can find your own colours that you love. And inside those colours, your own style and your own passion. Why use a colour that doesn't fill you with hope and inspiration and joy? Don't settle. You get every colour on the face of the planet. Don't settle for colours that don't really give your life vitality, give you that boost, give you that desire, give you that happiness. Get those beautiful colours. Let's have a little look-see here. Lovely. Up in the clouds there. See that light changing? So there's a little cloud there. It's giving me that little bit of reprieve. A little bit of reprieve. And I needed it so badly. Because that sun, jeepers, that sun. If it's not wind, it's the cold. And if it's not the wind and cold, it's the sun. So, you gotta get used to the chaos of the outdoors. Because it'll bring it. The outdoors will bring that chaos. Here it comes. That cloud's fading away. Back to half intensity. And I can feel it. I can feel my skin heating up. We're back to full intensity. Breathing that beautiful fresh air. Imagine all the people living for today. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Some sweet day you'll find us, and the world will live as one. Da-dee-da-dee-da-da-da-da. Labba-dee-dee-doo-da-da. That's the actual lyrics, by the way. There you go. Okay, Australian. I'm a Kiwi. I'm a New Zealand painter. Born in New Zealand. All this art is made here in New Zealand. Except for a few pieces. One piece was made in Indonesia. Another piece was made in America. Some of it's made in America, but usually it's made in New Zealand. This is my lovely home. Yeah, beautiful. See how we're prioritising the blues. It's the midday. So last night we were all over those greens and reds as the light shifted, and then we come into the morning and we were attacking those very, very yellow colours as the first hues came into the sky, and then the blacks. But now today We're all over those blues. I see blue everywhere today, which is kind of beautiful. There we go. A little bit more up here. All the way up to the tops. Temptation is to just keep working in the middle of the tree. We don't want to ignore those tippity tops. Right up there high in the tree. That's the plan. Seb can't sing. In fact, I was in a quartet at one point, a barbershop quartet. And I was the lead. We were practicing with this amazing guy named Matthew. We used to call him Childs. But, amazing guy named Matthew who trained us. Was trying to train us. We were pretty hard to teach. And he, four of us in the barbershop, me and three others. And we presented our little quartet to the teacher, who laughed at us and said, are you guys actually serious? You guys actually serious? It was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. But, yeah, all boys' schools can be a little bit rough. I think we're a lovely quartet. I reckon with a bit more training, we wouldn't have won. We could have participated. The most important thing, we were having fun. We clearly hadn't hit the notes right, but we knew how to have fun. So that was an important little thing that we learned, or I learned from a young age, that actually that wasn't bad. How could it be bad when we were all enjoying ourselves so much? You apply that same philosophy to painting, that actually it can't be good unless you feel joy while it's being made. There's an altruistic element to art. There's a desire for the viewer to know that the creator felt pleasure during the artwork's inception. And if there wasn't pleasure when the artwork was coming into existence, you would want the artwork less. And so the best artwork would have a happy creator, or a creator who was brought joy or satisfaction through a piece's existence. I'm not saying that all great artwork needs that, but the best requires that. And that's not because it changes the artwork in any way. Maybe slightly, maybe. I think it does. But that's not relevant. That's not relevant. What's relevant is the viewer and their knowledge that there was a beautiful journey. Just in the way we like to buy products from the supermarket that don't involve... We like to buy products that are involved in fair trade with other countries. We like to buy products that don't hurt the planet. We like to buy foods that harmed animals less if we can help it or afford it. We prefer these things. We're altruistic by nature, and that same element comes into paintings. You want a painting that's been made by an artist who loved what they made and who was made better for creating it. That is the byproduct of a beautiful process. We'd love a beautiful byproduct, of course, but it must be a byproduct of a beautiful process, not the reason for the process. So often we get so caught up thinking the artwork needs to be, the finished product is all that matters, and the process only exists as an annoying thing that creates the end product. If that was the case, everyone will cease to paint the moment a robot can paint better than a person, except that already happened in the 1840s, well back. That happened, and g'day Nessie, if this one's completed and it's beautiful and we love it, then absolutely we'll make prints of it available. So short answer, yes, but we have to get it to conclusion first, and like I say, we may not like where it goes. At the moment, we really like it. It's fun. It's still got a bit more to go, but we may lose it because we're working inherently with chaos. And we've had works in the past that have gone on a beautiful journey, and in the chaos, tripped up towards the end. But I don't know what I was saying previously. That's right. Photography. It's not an AI, but it is a tool, a gadget, somewhat of a robot that started making perfect pictures, and yet we continued to paint. Now, yes, the robot will learn to do things in an abstract nature. It'll make impressionist art, it'll make expressionist art, it'll do all these things, replicating human emotions. But if the only purpose was the end product, then art will indeed cease to exist. And if there's something beautiful, something special, something intrinsic, something desired, something needed, that we're deeply attracted to in the process, that will change it. That will mean that there will always be a place for art, because AI doesn't have a process. It goes from A to B straight away. You go from input to output, and that journey in between is ones and zeros, producing the output. Whereas as humans, we go on a journey, we get distracted, we go in a direction, we don't like that direction, we retrace our steps. In fact, our journey is made beautiful because it's horribly inefficient. It's full of mistakes, it's full of backtrackings, it's full of insecurity, it's full of questioning the direction we're going in, but it's also full of these pockets of happiness and joy and happy confusion. And these are things that are what makes the journey something worth going on. And the end product, the result, whatever that may be, that only exists as evidence of the journey. See, when you look at Starry, Starry Night, and this is the best example I can give you, you look at Starry, Starry Night, do you see just a beautiful painting? Or do you imagine, like Don McLean did, when you're talking about him, paint the trees and the daffodils, with eyes that watch the world and can't forget strangers that we've met. Ragged man in ragged clothes, silver on bloody prose. I can't remember the exact lyric, it's gone. But the point I'm making is that we see that and we actually feel the artist standing there, whether happy or whether in whatever mindset he might be in, but doing these strokes to make Starry, Starry Night. You connect with it on the level that you can see how it's made. Whereas we look at some artwork, and like Da Vinci, for example, you don't see the Mona Lisa as such and connect with it as deeply as Starry, Starry Night, because Da Vinci developed this technique to hide his brushstrokes. It was perfectly flat. He'd be able to actually create these gradients without the brush being visible. Now, of course, you can admire it as a beautiful piece of art, but you actually don't see it in the form that you can see the way it was made and understand that a human, a Homo sapiens, stood there in front of that piece and did brushstroke after brushstroke to create it. That is something that's unique to Van Gogh. Well, not just unique to Van Gogh, he's a goat of it. But Da Vinci tried to replicate the camera. Van Gogh tried to capture what human existence is like through the lens of paint. And that's kind of beautiful. And so if you were to put them beside each other, Da Vinci's a master craftsman. That's true, he is. Arguably one of the greatest artists of all time. But when we talk about using paint to capture human experience, surely we're giving that to Van Gogh, not to the craftsman. But, and the other thing is too, you know what? That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. And my opinion may be disastrously wrong. Not wrong. Disastrously different from everyone else's opinions. And that's okay. You're allowed your own opinion. That's the beauty of this world. If everyone agreed, art wouldn't exist. See, art's not about everyone agreeing. Art's about you expressing yourself. Not just in terms of the artist making the art, but you expressing yourself in terms of your taste and what you want in your home. You get a picture that you feel like captures the world or your own experience of this reality in its own little way, and you embellish your home with it. You're actually as the viewer or the client of art, you're making a step in order to express your own identity. There were millions of pieces of artwork out there in the world, millions, and yet you chose that one to express who you are. You see, in a way, the collector's doing a greater expression than the artist. The artist had one canvas and produced one work as hopefully as true a form to their true identity or self as they could. But the collector of art, or the viewer of the art, has tens of millions of pictures out there in the world. But they chose that one. And so, while the artist creates something of expression and feeling and love of whatever kind, the true love comes from the viewer who says, this may not even be purchasing the art, when they say, that's my favourite. That's the selection. Who's that there? G'day, Jules. It has been a long time. Good to see you back. It's not often I make about 4 or 5 lives in a row and don't see you. So, this is pretty special. How the heck? Well, I'll turn you around to face the trees. You can have a little look-see. Here we go. Let me just spin that around there. Hold on. Flick it right. There we go. There's the trees. Now, one premise. If you're going to compete with Mother Nature, you will lose. Mother Nature wins. She's perfect. In every single way, she nails it. You will never do greens better than the beauty, and I'm going to show you right now, the beauty of the nature that can surround you. Never. But Mother Nature doesn't get everything. There are things left behind, and those things left behind are things that you can extend on and accentuate. Those trees are beautiful, but those trees harness form and contrast in the most beautiful ways. We've actually gone for not form. There's not much form here. It's sort of erratic or shaky or staticky, like a Monet picture. But we see colour. We see this abundance of colour and expression collected in the human brushstrokes. We understand when we look at it that it's definitely a painting, that a human made these brushstrokes, that there's no question on that. You're looking at something that's evidence of a human experience in reality, and then you're looking at an explosion of colour. And those two things intertwined are something that, although nature can do it, and again, nature makes the most beautiful colour uncompeted. In this particular moment, we can accentuate elements that are underplayed in the current picture and make them more. So in this case, although nature always wins on colour in most cases, we found a little pocket where nature hasn't got the colour fully engaged, and we've accentuated that colour and improved this moment. So you have the actual trees that exist in reality, and you've got a picture, a painting, that doesn't try and say, I'm better than reality. It says, I'm a window to something else that reality didn't quite show you the full picture of. That's what it's there for. Now, let's put this there. Old Bob Ross always used to say, beat the deal out of it. Whack the brush. It's not my style. I do more of like a hard rub. But I'm harder on my brushes than Bob Ross is. He's quite soft on the hand, gentle, but I'm quite brash. I like to make my brushes work for it. There we go. Beautiful. This is New Zealand, by the way. We'll just put a little bit of Bob Ross there. There we go. But since it was just the whites predominantly on the brush, I'm not going to make that too tough to swap the colour. We typically just use the one brush and cycle around all the colours. So most pictures I make use just a singular brush. Sometimes, like in this one's case, and You know what? Most artworks case actually. There's two brushes. I open up with a larger one, sometimes around this size, sometimes a bit bigger, and then we finish off with one at this size. Two brushes that make the whole artwork come together. Both uniquely important. You go with a big one, with every colour, you actually try and capture the entire picture, and you don't stop until you get to a point where you can't actually capture more detail within the image because the size of the brush is now what's limiting you. You've done everything else. At that point in time, you double back, grab the smaller brush, and do every single colour again. And let them all just bounce over the top of each other beautifully. So in this case here, this is a lovely Naples yellow colour. It's very transparent. We're just going to let it roll over the top of these colours, capturing the colours in those nettles. Those nettles need just a bit more joy in them, a bit more potent colour bouncing over the top. There we go. It's that brash style with the brush I was talking about. Just a little bit naughty. Yeah. Maybe just a little bit more paint in there. There we go. Beautiful. Let's spring up around here. There we go. There's a delicate style that gives way to a thicker, more aggressive style. You have to yin-yang between the two, depending on how much paint is on the brush at any given stage. And how you go about that is really, really your own discretion. But I start off very light when the paint on the brush is thick, and then as the paint gets thinner, I start getting more, you can hear that hitting it, building it, and then those textures really thrive. You can see, as that sun reaches midday, suddenly the light hits differently. You can start expanding those yellows. This wants to be a picture that holds all the colours in the tree simultaneously. It might end up looking a bit like a Christmas tree, but I don't want to capture just the evening sun or the morning sun. I want to have all of them simultaneously in one picture. That's my plan. That's my plan. There we go. Spring through here. Lovely. Just up through here. There was a comment yesterday that I was laughing about. It was arguably the greatest comment of the week. It was so funny. Someone was like, Seb makes random erratic brushstroke. Everyone else, silence. Seb, perfect. But sometimes, and that quote encapsulated it so well that sometimes the artist, you, in whatever field you do, not just painting, but whatever you do, you need to see something before it's actually happened. You need to, Jules gets it, you need to be able to believe it can exist before it actually exists. And that goes the same if you're trying to create a small business, if you're trying to make a painting, write a song, learn some new technique or movement, or become a certain level at a sport. You need to imagine it's possible for you to get there before you actually get there. And you may not know what the end goal looks like, but you have to imagine that you're allowed to get there. You have to imagine that actually, in all the possible circumstances that exist in this big old crazy world, one of them comes out as beautiful as my little hopes and dreams imagine when I lay my head down on my pillow. One of them can be that. You don't need to trick yourself into thinking it's the only outcome that can happen. But you have to let yourself hope or believe that actually this painting could become something wild and be a true expression of what I came here to capture. Or, you know what? I can go to salsa classes. I can learn to dance. I may not be able to write a book, but you know what? I can write a diary. I can start recording my notes, my feelings, and collate them for myself. No, I don't know how to cook, but I can start watching YouTube videos, and I'm going to start with Eggs Benedict, and I'm going to get good at cooking. Just small steps at a time. But to do that, you have to believe that actually taking that first step isn't just a waste of your time, that you're not the fool of the joke, that you deserve actually to get whatever that little hope is. You could cook for me. Well, that's a lovely thing to say. But actually, I grew up with the most amazing lady called Noi. And Noi cooked me so much Lao and Thai food. And now, it's rubbed off on me, so. But rice isn't good to me. I get acid reflux and all this sort of stuff from rice, so I'm supposed to avoid rice, but the idea behind being able to cook, I always got the hang of that. And I've got a very good friend called Brody who knows how to smoke, and so between the two of us, we encapsulate most of the food. Most of the food, that's a lie. Most of the foods that we want to eat. Always got to stay hydrated though, otherwise I'll start drinking too much of the coffee. And not enough of the water. I'm going to strike that balance. There we go. Absolutely stunning. So you can see these trees gently warming up. And into my little favourite warming colour of all time. The colour I have an absolute soft spot for. Can't get enough of. Van Gogh's Kryptonite. The one, the only, Naples Yellow. What an amazing colour. What a beautiful, beautiful colour. I can't stand primary yellow, guys. I use medium occasionally, and then I just default to Naples. A lot of my work's the only yellow you'll see in it is Naples. I just love it so much, and it's poetic history with artists. The passion that people have gone through to pursue the greatest kind of yellows and use them. Old instructors would look at people's artwork and say, did you use Naples? Is there enough Naples in this? We're not talking about the last sort of 20 years, we're talking ancient times, but that's just beautiful. Just look at it. It's so unoffensive, and every colour Naples goes close to seems to just make it all come together. It's arguably, out of all the colours, and I'll say this, arguably out of all the colours, Naples is the biggest team player. It'll work with anyone and build any kind of picture that you're trying to create. Whereas things like green isn't going to play nice with everyone. You've got to get the right shade of green, and you've got to combine them just right. Same with purple. If you have a stark medium yellow beside purple, those colours are supposed to be complementary, but if you've done that, you can make someone's face or skin tones look kind of funny. Not to say that it happens all the time, but you've got to match these things up well. But Naples, anywhere, anytime, something about it to the human eye. What's green there? There we go. Okie dokie. Yeah, the tree here too. Beautiful. The question is though, after this little crazy escapade, what colour comes out next? What's going to rise to the surface of this one? What do we pause? Is the question. These are all the questions. bit sky there, just a little bit. Warm up this picture for me. That's beautiful, Naples. I just get way too excited about this colour. You can see this is the madness that I get caught up in. I'm like, Naples yellow. That's in the trees and the landscape and the sky and the branches and all of a sudden the entire picture is just yellow. So they talk about Van Gogh actually falling sick and seeing everything in yellow due to the toxicity of, I think it was some of the paints he was using. But honestly, I've been in his shoes in that, not the sickness part, but I've been in his shoes with colours like yellow where you're like, no, more, until the whole picture's yellow. Like, look, this is a great example. Rewind this 10 minutes. This was not yellow. And if I was just in a room by myself, just toiling away with some music playing, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to turn this picture yellow. And I have. I actually followed, I was painting some sunflowers, not the exact same ones as Van Gogh, but some sunflowers, and as I was painting them, I actually just went down the same path as Van Gogh. They just you get more yellow and more yellow and more yellow until I had yellow sunflowers. Do you think that your style is evolving, or did you fall into the same habits you don't like? I think your style is always evolving, and sometimes you can fall into habits. Let me elaborate. Art done repetitively is craft. Jay, are you out of here? We'll catch you later, buddy. The art done repetitively is a craft, and once you're doing a craft is an art. But if it's done with repetition, you've lost that art to it. It's just a craft. Still valuable, still beautiful. But a lot of artists, especially after you start selling your artwork, you fall into the trap of a craft because you feel like that's what everyone wants from you. And you deny the creative element of the new and the change. So the best thing you can do for yourself to ensure your style keeps on developing and changing and building is to play. And that doesn't mean play with all your artwork, but at some point in just the week, an hour, not even with a canvas, not even with good quality paint, just play with a new medium, with a new style. Allow yourself to actually enjoy what you did as a child, enjoy the elements that got you into your personal craft in the first place. And if you allow yourself to play and explore, what's going to happen? You're going to continue, like a child, to be inspired and discover new things. And no one who plays remains the same. Put that on a t-shirt. If you play, you'll be changing. Jody, I'm glad you liked that one. That's on its way to New York City at the moment. I've just been designing the prints and getting those all ready, but they'll be inbound. She is unique though. I know what you're saying. She's like, we set out in a way to capture the Statue of Liberty, but in a way that actually it wasn't just a crude replication like a photo, that there was something unique to it. Cheeky perhaps, but whatever it was just different. It was a unique way of looking at the statue that has been seen and photographed millions of times. And I feel like we got there. There's something in her face. There's this, like you're saying, it's unique. But yes, that one will have prints available in the future. Once I actually figure out the design, I'm just trying to decide how to, it's quite intense, the colours are quite intense, and so I'm just thinking, do I add more white around the edges, or I pull it right to the edges and then people can put on a bigger frame? I'm just wondering. So, sorry for those who've been waiting. I told them it'd be out like a week ago, but I'm still thought about it too much, and now I'm thinking, you know what? Just sit for a little bit and wait. The answer's going to come to you. It'll be late one night. You'll be in bed with a cup of tea or something, and you'll be like, you know what? This is the way. And then I'll stay up all night teeing it up. But at the moment, I don't know. I also feel like a lot of the time with prints, I try not to release the print until the collector has it in their collection. So that way, if you order a work, you get to be the first person to experience the actual presence of it. But the prints, I get those to anywhere in the world within 4 days. And so I don't like the idea that the collector who's commissioned the work might not see their work until someone else has got a print of that work in their home up on the wall. I'm not sure what's wrong with it, but it doesn't sit quite right. And so I try and withhold the prints until the collector's actually got it displayed in their space. And then I go, right, now it's time. It doesn't always work out like that. Sometimes there can be delays in shipments and stuff and all that sort of jazz, but on the whole, that's the way you try and tee it up. There you go. They put that on a t-shirt. Like the passion of Steve Irwin, just safely painting nature. Okay, you run to the, oh no, little bee. Hold on, guys. Little fella, let's get you safely on the ground. Oh, that's no good. It's just on your legs. You gonna be okay? He's gonna be okay. Poor little bee put his front legs in the, climbed onto the plate and touched the paint there. Anyway, so I was just saying, Steve Irwin and Seb come to the side of a riverbank. Steve Irwin goes, right, leaps into the water, starts wrestling the crocodiles. And Seb whips out his easel and puts it down and furiously starts painting it. 2 individuals, the same level of passion. No, but I don't think anyone has the ability or lacks the ability to feel passion, guys. I think we all have that. I think we just need to find that thing that gives us that zhuzh, that finding an emotion, a powerful emotion worthy of action. And I feel like a lot of us, life does it to us. Life's busy, guys, and life takes us in its hands and throws us around, and we start to believe that actually, you know what? Maybe there's not really something that I'm ridiculously passionate about. Maybe there's not this thing that I want to pursue with vigor. And life tricked you. Because like any artist or sportsman or whoever, you have the ability to feel emotion, to be grabbed, to feel powerful emotion, to feel love. And the biggest misdeed this world ever did was to show us or show you or show me at any point in time that maybe we weren't the kind of person who would feel that level of love or passion for someone or something. And we can fix that. We can first start by saying, do I know what my passion is? Sometimes the answer is no, and that's great. That's great to be able to stand there and go, I don't know. I'm 35, 55, 25, 15, and I haven't found it. I don't know what it is. But if you can answer that to yourself truthfully, then you can say to yourself, I owe it to me and the amount of existence that I have on the face of this planet to start looking. And I don't mean throwing your toys out of the cot and saying looking's all that matters, but to start keeping your eyes out and watching. What's that thing that I might love? What's that thing that might mean the world to me? And simply by opening yourself up to the possibility that that thing might be out there, it doesn't require as much looking as it just requires you to be ready. And it won't just show up like, oh, I'm here. It will most likely just be a little whisper, like Steve Jobs talks about in one of his speeches. A little whisper that'll say, that's a thread you should pull. You should follow that. And yeah, it was the world that took me away from painting for a period of time. I left this. People see me now and can't imagine the idea that I wouldn't be painting. That's crazy talk. Sib not painting? Madness. And I started to fall into the trap that I'm reflecting on with you guys, that actually I felt like, nah, people have passion and people have love, but I don't find that stuff. It's not for me. And then, in amongst all sorts of stuff, I started actually opening myself up to the possibility that I could find something that I loved again. And that was art. I opened myself up to the possibility of something that I actually left as a child. Why did I leave it? You get these kids who go off to university with scholarships and the golden boys, meant to go far. I often say that if it wasn't for art history and philosophy, I wouldn't have been able to reason my way into actually continuing to make art. I would break myself. Without the ability to say why I'm doing something or why it matters, nah, no chance. Hey, Lynn. Hello. So, at a certain point, every artist stands in front of a canvas, blankly, confused, alone, insecure, and they'll ask themselves, why? Why am I here? What am I doing this for? Am I crazy? Is this all a waste of time? What is this? Why? And that's not the realms of art to save you. That's the realms of psychology, and in my case, art history, to understand, well, for me, first off, why did other artists do it? Why did they do it? Why were they so crazy as to lock themselves away for days on end in a room to create pictures, alone and isolated? Why? Was there something special in that? What were they doing? And then the philosophy element of you understanding, you know what? Maybe there's not an answer in this universe. Maybe everything is just absurd. And maybe the only thing that'll drive meaning, the only thing that will drive meaning is you providing it. And once it's your responsibility, intrinsically your responsibility to provide meaning, I'm not saying you find it immediately, that's not how it works, but you become receptive to the idea that you could find it. And that changes everything. Let's twist that slightly as that sun turns slightly. I'll bring you this way a little bit, team. Hold your ground. There we go. Yeah. Those trees are looking fantastic. We might just get a little bit more white. Just keeping those saturated colours. Then lightening them up. Backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. Thanks, Stephanie. Yes, thank you for the reminder. I'm covered in sunscreen. But this is the kind of day that things can go very, very wrong should you not be wearing sunscreen. This is the kind of day that you definitely need your water out for. You can feel it like evaporating right in front of you. There we go. Beautiful. There's too much paint on the brush. There we go. Here we are. It's going to cascade through there. Lovely. And the last colour we'll go into after this whites is going to be a lovely, lovely bit of baby blue. And then we'll again wait until we get those powerful evening tones and we'll come on back. You know, it's funny, in this kind of light, you can't see any pine cones. Not one. But in the evening, they all stand out. The light hits different. So that's all part of the fun. There we go. You thought for a second it was Robert Irwin. You know, he seems like a nice guy. I haven't watched a whole lot of his videos. When I was a kid, I was growing up with Steve Irwin. And the one thing that was so potent about Steve was when Steve was excited about something, you knew it. And I remember this one that used to stick with me about buying land. He's like, of course I want to buy land. I'm going to buy all the land. I'm going to make millions and millions of dollars. And then I'm going to turn it all into sanctuary. I'm going to save every part of this beautiful, beautiful world that I possibly can. Of course that's what I'm going to do. That's my plan. And it was so powerful and so infectious. You couldn't help but to think, God, I want to give everything to Steve. I want to rally behind that dream that he's got. I want to see the world be saved. I want to see this beautiful nature, his passion for the world around him, be saved. And it still is. That wonderful bit of land that he has got there. But, you're out here in this environment right now painting and you just think, God, this is an absolutely wonderful place that we live in. It is beautiful that we would have the right or the privilege to stand here on a day, warmth, no wind, surrounded by nature, fresh air. Like, you'd be greedy if you wanted to get anything else. There we go. And I look at those people in places like Palau and Indonesia. You know, our own people right here on shore and all over the world sometimes in these first world countries, we can get so barred up on things that matter so little, and you see someone with the sun, togs, the water at their feet, maybe a fishing rod, and a place like Palau or a place like Indonesia, and you see a happiness on their face that sometimes you don't see in your own country. You think, how did you do that? Maybe they're aware of something. Not that they've got something, but they're aware of something that a busy life may have taught you to forget. Maybe you're allowed to be happy. Maybe you don't need a fancy new house or Xbox or car, friends, new friend groups. Maybe social media or maybe the news, magazines taught us that actually we should need more to be happy. Maybe it was just a trick. Maybe the cool kids at school weren't really the cool kids and you were allowed to be happy. Maybe the cool kids were just jealous they weren't you. There we go. Beautiful. Alright team, here we go. That's going to bring us to a close for today. That's been very, very fun. This work is looking absolutely stunning, guys. I really appreciate you all joining here with me as we go through it. There's definitely more to add, more transparency, and more of these shadows and shapes. Not too much definition, but a little bit more to build out here. To see some of the individual trees and flax bushes, horizon line and mountains and sea in the background. But the trees themselves, you can see their style, their overreaching volume and power in their position. And in that size, they don't seem, what's what I'm looking for, formidable or scary. They actually just have this beautiful presence to them. And that's what I wanted. The trees arc up in all directions. I didn't want them to be scary. I just wanted them to be beautiful. And the colours helped us achieve that. We're not there yet, but we'll wait for another lighting condition before we take it much further. Let me spin you around here so you can see the trees that we're working on. There they are there. The big trunk, 15 trees in total, small across the thing. And you can see the small shrubs here. We're not painting the grass here. We've cropped it. If I spin you back around here we are. So again, you can see these big thick trunks here, but again, they don't have that intimidation aspect to them. We can see a lot of this foliage in all direction around here. And most importantly, we never painted a background, but you can see it going through those trees. That's the plan. Anyway, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure being here with you all. I really appreciate you all for joining. You're absolute champions. I'll be back, whether it's tonight or tomorrow. And other than that, if you want anything else, you can reach out via almost any social platform, Instagram, wherever, and all the links are in the bio of TikTok. Apart from that, to the regulars, Jay, Jules, who else do we have here? Ryan's gone. RC, yeah. Look after yourselves, guys. Catch you later. Bye now.